Hi, everyone. This is Samarah Grace Daniels bringing you Manna Monday on Tuesday. We had a snowstorm yesterday here in the Sedona area, and our internet was really kind of wonky. And besides that, after I reviewed the message that I had done, I wasn't feeling what I always want to feel when I offer something to you, which is just full of joy and graciousness and happiness. And so I decided, why not make Manna Monday on Tuesday? So here we go. One of the things that has really helped me is looking at how do I stay serene, joyful, balanced, and at peace, regardless of what's happening out there. So as those of you know that watched my first video, I looked into the old saying, peace be with you. And it's just a lovely way to offer to you peace. But if I'm not feeling peaceful, then I'm not really doing much to offer that to you. So job one is to become peaceful myself. And so I looked into that and I thought about some of the books that I've read in the past that were helpful to me. And I came back to the Four Agreements. Many of you, I'm sure, have heard of this book or read this book, but if you haven't, it's been a New York Times bestseller list for more than a decade. And there's four agreements, which I'll get to in just a moment. But what it has to do to help us is it helps us take a look at what is the story that I'm living. And all of us have that little voice in our heads that is judging and looking out and making decisions and just trying to navigate this difficult life. But what I have found is oftentimes the story that we are telling ourselves isn't accurate. It may be based on old beliefs, it may be based on some traumatic experience that you had, but what we tell ourselves, that story that we tell ourselves, actually becomes our reality. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so if we feel like, the world's out to get us, if we feel like, those people are, the enemy or whatever, that's what we're going to see and create because our whole field is attuned to that mistaken story. So what Don Miguel Ruiz wrote about in the Four Agreements was four simple things that we can take a look at that might help us to see if we're still telling ourselves a story that is not in any way helping us. So the first one is be impeccable with your word. And so I started off by telling you I wasn't happy with what I did yesterday. And so I said, I'm not going to put it out there because I do feel like being impeccable with my word and not making excuses and not, just saying things to be nice that I don't really feel or mean. Being impeccable with our word means if we want to say no, we say no. If we want to say yes, we say yes. And that we remember that our word becomes what we connect with other people and how we live our lives. So the first one was be impeccable with our word. And I think that I'm glancing at my cheat sheet here. One of the things he mentions is gossip. And that's easy to do. But when we gossip about people, what we're doing is putting everybody in little boxes and also most of the time trying to feel superior to somebody else, and it's not helpful. So being impeccable with your word really means saying what is true, saying what is honest, but also saying what is loving. Now, the second one is perhaps a little bit harder, and that is don't take things personally. Whew. So whoever just said this or did that, and then we make up this whole story about how they don't like us, they don't respect us, they don't whatever. And really, whatever everybody else is doing, if we can take a moment, is based on the story they're telling themselves. And oftentimes that's not entirely accurate or true either. And so by realizing what someone else says is their truth, but you don't have to take it on and, be burdened by it or react with anger about it or whatever, because you can go back to number one and just say to them, I hear what you're saying and that doesn't fit for me. Or I hear what you're saying and I don't agree with you. Or I hear what you're saying and that feels really hurtful. So it isn't that you allow them to rail on and on with their story. You are impeccable with your word, but you realize what they're saying is really about them. And all you need to do is come back into yourself and say what is true for you and what is impeccable for you. Now, the third one is also kind of connected to that one, and it's don't make assumptions. And so oftentimes we are making assumptions about people, and not always to the benefit of them, or certainly not to ourselves. And so, again, coming back to be impeccable with your word, rather than making an assumption about what someone has said or done, come back into your heart, come back into your honesty and say, gosh, when you did that, what was it that was in your heart or mind that made you do that or say that? And so you always try to bring it back to the present moment, and always taking responsibility for yourself and what you say, but not living this whole field of assumptions. And so I think that can be very, very helpful. And not to get into politics, but if you take a look at the events on January 6th, that group of people believed that what they were doing had been sort of ordained by Donald Trump, and they believed him. They believed that story, that the election was stolen. They believed when he said, go down to the Capitol, take it back, take back our country. And so we have to really take responsibility for not only what we say, but what we believe, and to investigate a little bit further by not making assumptions and just doing the best that we can. And that brings us to number 4, which is always do your best. And, some days it's great and some days it's not. When I did the recording yesterday and it kept buffering and doing different things and I wasn't happy with it, I had to wrestle with, well, you promised to do something every Monday and you're not doing it, and da-da-da. And I just felt like I don't want to put something out that is not my best to you, and that is a reflection of me. And so for today, Tuesday, the follow-up to Manna Monday, what I want to offer to you is take a look at the 4 agreements if you haven't read it in a while, or if you've never read it, and do your best to dial back assumptions and taking things personally and being impeccable with your word and just being in the moment. Because the next part that I want to just share with you is that when we finally kind of unravel all of that, now we're in a position to write a new story that isn't based on the ricocheting reaction to lots of other people. And I believe that part of what can be helpful in writing that news story is to come back into yourself and take full responsibility, full ownership, and full power, and to be able to say honestly and truthfully, I am. And for me, I'm a spiritual being having a physical experience. I'm a spiritual being that is also curious and really doing my very best to offer a life of love into the unified field of craziness that's currently out there. And so I am is a very, very powerful beginning to a mantra that you can create for yourself that feels good. And to do that and live that story. So I keep sort of coming back to, I am a spiritual being living a very blessed life, grateful in every way to be here with you, to have internet today that's actually working, to have snow on the ground outside, and to be able to realize that to the best of my ability, I'm impeccable with my word. To the best of my ability, I don't take things personally. To the best of my ability, I don't make assumptions, and I do my best to do my best. So it comes back to peace be with you. And I offer all of this to you on this beautiful day, knowing that if it resonates with you, I'm happy. And if it doesn't, I'm happy, because that's about you. So what I've done is offered you the best of what I know and the love that I feel and the hope for all of us that we can be at peace. And so my wish for you is that you may dwell in beauty, you may dwell in bounty, you may dwell in blessings, and you may dwell in aloha, because as many of you know, I just love Hawaii. If you want to get in touch with me, my website is samarahgrace.com. That's SamarahGrace.com. And I wish you a beautiful Tuesday, rolling over from Manna Monday. Many blessings and namaste.